We were
Okay.
practicing.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the meeting began today, Wednesday, October 4th at 12:06 p.m. And did you want us to do roll call again?
Yes, please.
Do you mind then? Go ahead, take it away.
All right. That is Co-Chair Washington
Here.
and Co-Chair Toya
Present.
and Commissioner Cuddy-Eye,
I'm here.
Commissioner Marks. I see you. Commissioner Lance.
Here.
I see you too. And Commissioner Whitehat is excused absence today. And then Commissioner Yellow Hair, as well as Commissioner Zavala, are all excused absence today. And you already did land acknowledgement, right?
Yes, I read
Yes,
that.
we did. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so we can move forward, and at this time we have public comment. Anyone here for public comment? Okay, so no public comment today, and we can move forward to agenda item number 4, and that will be approval of minutes. And none available at this time, so we will move forward to agenda item number 5. A, Thorpe Park Indigenous Community Cultural Center update. Pro staff member will update the commission on the status of the Indigenous Community Cultural Center and information on next steps.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name's Amy Hagan. I'm the city's Assistant Parks and Recreation Director. So here to talk about this item 5A. I can share a document or documents, even if that's helpful. But let me first give a quick recap on where we are today with our Indigenous Community and Cultural Center. So in December of 2022, so amazingly somehow about 10 months ago, City Council approved a concept design, just a concept design. I'm going to share that just to refresh everyone's memory on this. And with that concept design, designates the historic stone building on this property, a part of Thorpe Park, as the Indigenous Community Cultural Center. And that's this light colored rectangle right here, where we do have a traditional ceremonial space on the eastern side of the building, and then some outdoor flex space to the north, plus some ethnobotanical and pollinator gardens surrounding, some parking stalls, and a lot of more of a orchard. And I think it's going to be an excellent opportunity for us to do some Indigenous plantings and gardens with this space. So that is the space. Just to refresh everyone, concept design has not changed since December of 2022. And so now we need to start figuring out what our next steps are. I'm gonna, if everyone's okay, I'm gonna share a map next, because we have some new aerial imagery that shows what the site looks like today. And actually, I'll get rid of this rose-colored drawing here for just a second so we can kind of zoom in here. So this is the rooftop of the building of the future Indigenous Community and Cultural Center, where the contractor was using this location as a temporary construction yard. That's been cleaned up. looking good. We do still have our sustainability offices that are right here in this smaller building with a darker brown roof structure, and then a metal building just directly to the kind of north and west of that. So things are moving. So the construction yard is gone. Great news. Next steps that staff have identified with all of our partners for this is around the entire perimeter of this roughly 8.5 acres is a chain link fence. One of our next steps is to take down the chain link fence. That is an idea that everyone would like to do as the next step to start to again open up this space to the rest of Thorpe Park and start to beautify the space. So staff with me and staff with our facilities maintenance department with the city of Flagstaff, we're going to be performing a procurement to ask if there are any contractors that are interested in the perimeter chain link fence. In case if they need it, some of it are some fixed temporary panels, and then some of it is some of the older fence that's honestly just in some rough shape. So that would be step one, is start to beautify and clean up the property. I had an opportunity the other week along with Rose and our city manager and Mayor Daggett and some members of ICF to discuss what could then steps be after that. Could we host a cleanup? Could we host, get in and start to work with some of the soil there and do that? I think we certainly could organize that. So I wanted to ask that of the Indigenous Commission, if that is a good next step for me to organize with. We could even do it with volunteer groups. We could do it with city staff. We could have various dates where we could do this. The onus is definitely on park staff to go in there once this perimeter fence is taken down and start to clean up around the perimeter. There's a lot of extra growth. There could be some invasive species occurring there. There's some cleanup with some of the trees that abut right next to that perimeter fence. So definitely would love to get a cleanup going before our winter season hits. And then any questions about that, about the fence or kind of a landscape cleanup? If no questions, I'll keep going and stop me whenever you'd like. Then we need to start talking about what steps are after that cleanup. So after the fence goes down and after some cleanup of the soils. And so speaking with our procurement department with the city of Flagstaff, we'll definitely engage Rose and any others and probably our real estate department to find out what type of bid. There would probably be an invitation to bid for a lease of the building. Because could we start to then work on some, I've been calling it seed money for both literal reasons, I think too, but could we start to work on some seed money and some grant opportunities when the city can demonstrate this is the Indigenous Community Cultural Center. Here's our leasee partner on this. And so we'd like to start to go for some grant opportunities because next steps are we need to get this building in a habitable condition. There is one item on the building that is also going to be performed by city staff. There's over here where I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So hopefully the screen doesn't get all crazy on us. Right in here in April, some park staff and I noticed a water leak. There was water percolating up in the asphalt. We've chased this water leak as far as we can, unsure where it's leaking, so want to work with our water services department, potentially a plumber on a repair. Because currently water is shut off to this building. So that means bathrooms are not operable, hand washing stations are not operable. So we'll also start working on that too this fall and winter so that we can get the water back on and have it repaired. And that could occur at the same time that we're doing this invitation for bid for an interested party to lease this or interested partner to lease the building. I do know that our heritage preservation officer, He has had some what's called photometrics performed of the building, which have been some really cool, amazing photos. So that will also start to package what we documents or imagery that we can provide in this invitation for bid for a desired leaseor, so that the conditions of the building are well known, so that we can also partner on, again, going out and seeking some grant opportunities on this. So there's some cleanup and mitigation that will occur on site now that the contractor is vacated, so we can continue to beautify the site. Next fiscal year, so in July of 2024, Pros, Parks, Recreation, Open Space and Events, our division has additional seed money that is directly identified for this location. And that's a value of $200,000. So we have $100,000 we're going to work on cleaning up the site right now, and then $200,000 for next fiscal year that I think could be additional seed money to partner with whomever the leaseor is for this building, for the Indigenous Community and Cultural Center, and continue to rehab it so that it can be habitable. Whether if that's initially for meetings, that's possible, because on the western kind of half of the building, there is some office space, and that's where restrooms are that will get back open and operable. And it could be meeting rooms or what have you. So there will be additional funding to contribute to that and partner with whomever is a leaseor for this. Any questions on any of that or timing of things?
I have a comment, more or less. So with that all being said, will you communicate with Rose or the commission to plan or involve us in the cleanup? Because I think there's a few of us that would like to participate with that and gather maybe some youth and individuals interested in that.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking that. Yes, would love to ensure that this is a heavily involved working group. And then that way, I understand the importance of getting some our Indigenous groups and especially youth in there in the beginning, and let's start working on the cleanup and the healing process of that. So absolutely.
Anyone else have any comments or, yeah.
I just want to say thank you for, again, showing us what's possible and giving us an idea of like the timeline of what we can be working towards. And I do want to know, as we're going forward, if there are questions from the community about when they can come and help clean up, or if there's community members that want to go in on their own accord to help clean up, is that possible?
I think excellent question. Yes, I think that would become more possible once that perimeter fence comes down, because that really opens up this property to feel a little more inviting. It is still considered city property, so I do want to work with ICF and this commission on maybe we have some scheduled days that also coordinate well with the youth and with FUSD, especially with some schools nearby. So I would love to coordinate some of those days. And then if there are some days that are more ideal to not be some kind of city event, I think that our events group can certainly accommodate that, and we can figure that out too. Understanding that sometimes some of these cleanup efforts might need to be in a different format. I think the first step is honestly, let's get that fence down, because that will open this up and it'll make the space feel more inviting to anyone wanting to organize any cleanup efforts.
So clarifier, you're asking that we wait till the fence comes down before we can work on cleanup opportunities?
I think we should, yes. A lot of that cleanup, unfortunately, is at the base of the fence. and those posts. And I think that when that fence comes out, when the chain link is rolled up and taken away, we're gonna see, it will expose more of some of the needed cleanup. But we could also, Commissioner Marks, figure out what are best items that would be in the scope of work for volunteer groups and youth versus maybe some of those things that might take more of a mechanical removal. If there are some posts with concrete footers, that would be easier for park staff to take out. Can certainly work on that, and what would be more ideal scope of work on that. Again, directly around the building is still some rudimentary asphalt, right? With some weeds coming up. I think that I'll move a little bit back here along this tree line before it slopes down to the Rio de Flag. I think we have some cleanup opportunities there, and working with some of the existing trees that they're gonna have a lot of suckers popping up and some things like that. And that continues along here, along that entire perimeter. And there is a fence right there, a little bit in conflict, which is why I ask if we can quickly get that fence out. It might be more ideal to organize our cleanups post fence. And if not, let's still figure out how we work together, because I don't want to hold up any of our youth groups going in there and working on the property. Go ahead, Go ahead, Councilmember Matthews.
Thank you so much, Chair. Amy, excuse me, you may have mentioned this, but I didn't catch it. We are in October, so do you think this fence parameter will be removed and so we can start cleaning up this year, or are we too late in the year?
Excellent question, Councilmember Matthews. I do think that we're going to try to get this perimeter fence removed this month in October. If it's not ideal for a contractor, I think that we've got plenty of staff between pros and public works and water services where we could even do an equipment demonstration day, because if we get a handful of operators in there and start to get this fence rolled up, get it out of there, we can do it on our own if we need to. Did want to provide the opportunity to a contractor through an invitation for bid, especially if they're looking to purchase any perimeter fencing, and see what type of bid I can do with procurement on that. So I spoke with them on that last week. So we'll start to get that together. We may see some late fall, early winter cleanups, and definitely be able to hit the ground running this spring after the winter season.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Commissioner Lance.
Yeah, I was wondering, Amy, when you were talking about like getting, was it a lease agreement with somebody and grants and stuff like that? That's something you're looking forward to next year, right? You were saying?
That could be something that could occur, I think, this winter or spring. At least that's what I've put in the city procurement's wheelhouse to let's start talking about that, because it will be time to get that going, especially with that trigger on July 1st, 2024. So in about 9 months, then our department has $200,000 to partner with a leaseor on this property. And that provides that seed money to go after grants, especially if there's a match or matching funds, or to continue to renovate the building so that it can even become habitable by a leaseor. So I'd love to see that bid, that lease real estate bid, go out this spring. So after the new year, maybe February, March of 24.
Okay, so with this being called, like the future place of Indigenous Cultural Center, when you're saying like getting a lease, who would you be partnering with? Are you looking for a partner that would be an entity that would call themselves the Indigenous Cultural Center? I mean, what do you mean by that? Like, if this is like a city-owned property and we're going to call it Indigenous Cultural Center, like who's the lease gonna? Are you looking for a company or some kind of entity that's like a nonprofit to kind of lease to, or something like that?
No, I think excellent questions. And we haven't written the scope of work yet on what this invitation to bid to lease this building. It's a little of that of the egg before the chicken. So it's going to be interesting, but I do want to work with Rose and with this commission on developing what that scope of work entails so that we really set this up well. I think that, yes, it'll be a city building that XYZ group will lease. I don't think it'll be an expensive lease. If it's set up similar to some of our other leases, similar circumstances would be the Murdoch Center, where that's a city building leased out to a group. We also have the Boys and Girls Club, which is in a former city recreation facility called the Cogdill Center. So we'll work with the Indigenous Commission. I have a feeling we'll probably work with ICF, obviously Rose, and our real estate department and figure this out. But I do want to ensure that it's a scope of work that meets all those needs. I think to be transparent, the last thing we're looking for is for someone to come in and think that they know how to run an Indigenous community and cultural center that maybe really does not. We're not looking for a partner like that. With the city designating this space as that ICCC, we need to ensure that this is packaged really well. Rose, I don't know if there's been details regarding requirements on if the partner needs to be nonprofit or not. I'm not sure if we've had that level of conversation with ICF.
Yes, that was the conversation, and ICF does have is a nonprofit now and does have a 501c3. And then also Commissioner Lance, I'll go over at some point when we went over the work plan. That's kind of the history of how this whole information and whole talks and discussions evolved around the Indigenous Community Cultural Center. So I can catch you up more on that, and just so that you're more aware and more informed. Okay?
Okay, yeah, it was just kind of a general question, just with the lease agreement and stuff like that. It kind of made it sound like it's, well, it is going to be leased to somebody, but the intent of this whole building is for the Indigenous Community Cultural Center. So I was just kind of like, just trying to kind of piece that together. I know it's in the future, still and in the works, just kind of general information for myself.
Go ahead, Councilmember Matthews.
Thank you, Amy. So having said that, and you said there's a lot of repairs and rehab that needs to be done to this building. So if a nonprofit organization is awarded the lease to then provide the cultural center, but the city owns the building, is there an opportunity for the city to make those investments to the building? Because depending on what organization goes in there, they may not have a bandwidth of a lot of finances to do a lot of construction repairs. So is there an opportunity to talk to the city about doing the improvements for it?
There is, absolutely. And that would occur through our budget cycle. So again, this upcoming fiscal year, PROS has $200,000 to contribute to the further rehab of this building or a potential grant opportunity. And then I think that it's going to be time to start to talk about that at that budget level with our city council and with our city leadership about how do we start to program the rest of this, which is why there's that interesting piece of doing the bid, finding the lease or the partner on that, because who knows if there needs to be an opportunity of a third partnership, if there needs to be someone else, a financer that comes in to provide further rehab to this. I think it's going to be really interesting to package, and it will be a time. It's ripe for that time for budget season too, to start to talk about this as from a city staff lens as we start to submit our budget requests. So I
Right, and
appreciate
that's-
you bringing that up.
And that's kind of why I asked. So I'm wondering if we could, because we're starting our budget discussions here in the next week or so. They take months, so it's not urgent. But if we had an estimate of construction cost, so when we're talking about allocation of funds, obviously grant, as you mentioned, I'm sure could be grant opportunities there as well. But just so we have a big picture of the overall cost to bring that building up to being able to be occupied. I just, you know, I hate the speed of which government works. So I'm always trying to, let's get as much information as we can out here instead of saying, okay, next June. So now we know how much it is. So now let's ask for some financial support. So now you're talking 3 years out. So if we could somehow get, even if it's a ballpark, just like, what is it going to cost? We've got the 200,000 from pros for next year, but I know it's going to cost far more than that to get the building occupied. And I'd really like to know, wow. Yeah. So it needs a
It's-
lot of work.
Yes.
Oh,
It
gosh.
does. Yeah. So, and this what it honestly resembles this, and it's historic. So I think it's going to be a collaborative budget request from pros, from Rose's group, and from Heritage Preservation, so community development. And in what, you know, in that, with that collaborative estimate, because I agree, when our elected officials and leadership are sitting down and are talking about a magnitude of items and what to fund next when it's an unfunded budget request, we need that estimate too. And I can work with our Heritage Preservation Officer on and Rose in creating that estimate. This gives this is the non-office part of the building, but it gives an idea of the condition of it. It was for a long time a fleet mechanic shop.
It's a great open space.
It's awesome. It's really cool, you know, and as you walk up this entry here, right behind that tractor, that's then that western side where there is some office space, conference room, meeting rooms, restrooms, and some additional storage. So I have a feeling that this rehab will probably occur in phases too. That's where I'm really curious next year, how much does that $200,000 that Pros has to contribute to probably that western half? How much of that, along with a grant opportunity, really lets us rehab a percentage of this building, and then start to talk about what occurs in this other half, this more open industrial right now, but probably not industrial for the future. And what does that entail? I do think there are some hefty grant opportunities out there with a historic building that is, I'm hoping, to our advantage on this. But yeah, it's time to start packaging that for our budget conversations.
Thank you, Amy.
Any other questions?
I just want to say thank you, Councilmember Matthews, for bringing that to the attention of the Indigenous Commission. And thank you, Amy, especially for your hard work and that dedication to work with the Commission and the Indigenous Circle of Flagstaff. This has a really an emotional moment, but I'm going to hold it together and I'm so grateful that these conversations are finally happening because it's been long awaited. We all know this, and so I extend a lot of gratitude to everyone who has put in the work for this. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. It's always shared. Thank you.
So I believe that will conclude agenda item A, and we can move forward to agenda item number 6, general business and possible vote.
Thank you, Co-Chair Toya, and also want to say thank you to both Amy as well as Councilmember Matthews for just having this good conversation with our Indigenous Commission. I think that they represent different pockets of the community, and it's really good that they know what's coming down and what's happening, what the plans are, so that they can share with their own circles. So I think that part is really important because, you know, all of them, including myself, people have been coming and asking, what's next. You know, we know what the final concept is and what's next. And so I think people are really excited about over the what the final concept was, and they just need to they're wanting their curiosity to be quenched with some information, and thank you for that. So I wanted to bring attention to this Indigenous Peoples Indigenous Peoples Day holiday designation. And this has been in conversation with a work group with CODA, which is Commission on Diversity Awareness. And one of the things that we talked about, let me turn on my computer so you can see me. One of the things that we talked about was that we had a conversation with the Indigenous Commission back several months ago when Miss Jean came, Miss Jean Toner came, and she talked about what she'd like to have with the commission and wanting to see how we can work together. And so since then, we've been meeting about the work groups have been meeting with some conversations on how best to do this. I know with CODA, they have moved the Juneteenth portion of the conversation forward as a fair item through council member House. So right now, what we're having is our discussion was that if we're not settled on having the holiday after Thanksgiving, which is another Native American Appreciation Day, and that was deemed that day, but now it's really better known as Black Friday and other things. And so we had discussed this discussion before where it would not be a good thing to fall behind Thanksgiving, only because of the different controversy around Thanksgiving, where to many tribes and many Indigenous nations, that is more of a day of mourning because of colonization and because of the different things that have happened to Indigenous people in this country. And so, so based on that, we started talking about maybe we could use Indigenous Peoples Day as that official designation, and that we could really make it official with at least within the city. There is information about how that history has started, and that has started back in 1977 to honor Native American history. And we've done some of the research on it, and it's that so the federal, it's not an official federal holiday. It is more, I guess, more recognized through proclamations and such. And so some of the states have also decided on their own, since it was designated by the federal government, that it could be something that they can make official. And some states have done that. And then some cities have done it without support from the state. I guess that's the only way I can really explain it. So the state doesn't recognize it, but cities do. And so there's different information around that, but there was a list of cities that recognize it, but I can't seem to find that list of total cities. I think it's what it says is it's over at least 100 cities that have recognized Indigenous Peoples Day. And so what we're having to do is this something that the Indigenous Commission is interested in? And I'll be able to write it up and maybe be able to have a fair item possibly through Councilmember Matthews or Councilmember whoever could be able to do that for us. So that, I guess the conversation is, are you interested in doing this with Indigenous Peoples Day? And I'll communicate, the information to you. And then maybe through a work group, convening with the work group with CODA, we can get this done. So I wanted to bring that to you, and I know we're sort of getting limited on time, and I just want to know your thoughts, and if you want to, you can vote on that, because we already kind of had this discussion before about designating a holiday. So I'll leave it up to you now.
Thank you, Rose. And would you like for us to make a motion to approve this?
You can make a motion to have the Indigenous Peoples Day to be considered as a holiday, official holiday designation for the city of Flagstaff. We can go with that, and then we'll see how it rolls out.
Okay, well, I would like to make a motion that the Indigenous Commission consider Indigenous Peoples Day a holiday with the city of Flagstaff.
Awesome.
This is Joe Washington. I second that.
And the vote?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
This is Diana. If I could vote, I would say aye too, but I can't vote. But I think it's about time that we started doing something like that too. Thank you, Rose.
You're welcome. I also want to just note that in the chat, Councilmember Matthews said that she had a conversation yesterday about putting a fair item for this holiday. So she just wanted to know the day. So now she knows that it would be for Indigenous Peoples Day, which is the second Monday of October.
Thank you, Rose. I just want to make a quick comment. I felt really honored yesterday. I walked into the Coconino Federal Credit Union, and they posted a sign that they were honoring Indigenous Peoples Day on Monday, and therefore their branches would be closed. So I just really felt grateful for that. So yes, we do need to do this, and we have a lot of community and organizations supporting us. So I feel that this is one move that definitely must be done. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So on to the next one, Co-Chair.
So we can move on to item B, update on Indigenous Peoples Day event. Staff liaison will update the events planned for Indigenous Peoples Day.
Okay, so this is what we have for Monday. And it is, let me go ahead and move this. Oh, I can't move it. So I'm going to turn my head this way. Sorry. So this is what we have for Monday. It's this is our theme. And we have a lot of nice things that we're going to be doing with as far as presentations. So we're going to start the day, and you all have this in your email too. I had emailed it all to you, and then just asked you to share it with others. But everything has been approved as far as people confirming that they're gonna be here, that there's no last minute changes. The only thing that I'm having to deal with internally is just the payments, which might have to come later than sooner. So, but everything seems to be okay. I've called people and most people are okay with that. And I still have, I think, a couple more people I need to hear back from. But is there anything that you feel that you need questions on? This is just to update you. And it'll be, sorry for the scrolling, and it'll start at 9 o'clock at the Elks Lodge. And you can all Google that and get there. I'm hoping that all of you will be there. If there is a quorum, I need to post that there might be a quorum, so I'll go ahead and do that in case all of you show up, which I'm hopeful you do. All right, any questions? I don't hear any, but I'd like to, and I also want to just thank Commissioner or Co-Chair Toya. She has offered to do really the bulk of the work to feed us all. And I just want to just thank her for doing that. So her and I will get together to go over the food list and what needs to happen. It's going to be a simple menu, but it's going to be tasty. So we're all looking forward to that.
Thank you, Rose. I'm also honored to do this for the third year. So very grateful. I would not rather be anywhere else but there. And please invite your families, relatives. It is a public open event for everyone to enjoy, and definitely come to see the dances. And we can move forward on to item number 7. Informational items from commissioner members, staff, and future agenda item requests. And I have Council Member Matthews.
Thank you, Coach Toya. I mentioned this to Rose yesterday. So Rose, I hope it's okay to bring this up to the commission. But I have been pursuing the discussion on renaming the peaks to their original names through the indigenous tribes that we have up here. And I had an interesting conversation with Heidi Hansen. She's in charge of basically our marketing through Flagstaff, and she presented a question that caused me to pause. So I wanted to present it to the commission. And she said, Lori, although to be sensitive to our local tribes, we do not promote the Snow Bowl, but we do promote skiing and other snow play events. We just don't use Snow Bowl's name. But she said if we were to utilize the names given to the various peaks using the tribal names, would that be offensive to the indigenous community? So I said, oh, very likely it could be. So I just wanted to, before I keep pushing for changes through our Chamber of Commerce and our city, I was going after local recognition of the proper names for what we call the peaks, not what our indigenous community calls them. But I just wanted some feedback on what you thought about that, because I didn't consider that honestly at the time. Does that make sense? So if we have the city and the Flagstaff Chamber of Commerce consider using Navajo name or Hopi or the different peaks, they are going to be using it when they're promoting the Snow Bowl, even if they don't use the name Snow Bowl. So I just didn't know where to go from here. Any comments?
This is Joe Washington, maybe this should be put on our agenda for the next meeting, since I don't think we can discuss informational items.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That sounds like a great idea from Commissioner Co-Chair Washington. So can we get that on the future agenda item?
Mhm. Do you want it on the next agenda?
Sure.
Okay, we can put it on the next agenda because I think that this is a little bit more time sensitive because of the work that Councilmember Matthews is doing. And so I think that we need to give her as much information as possible so that she can do her work.
Yes, I agree. Thank you, Rose.
Thank you.
Any other announcements?
I believe. Oh, go ahead, Rose.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Commissioner Cuddy, do you want to talk about the fair that IPAC is putting on with Cultural Connections?
Oh, the main person that would offer a lot more information than I would be council member Mike. But I can't remember the date of it, but it's going to be held at the Ice House again. And right now we're just in the midst of finalizing some of the events that will be taking place. And I think they were still looking for some vendors, and there is money to be paid out to them if they would like. So it will be at the Ice House, which is downtown area again. Last year was a really good success, and we're trying to make it an annual event. So just keep your eyes out for some public announcement of that.
Mhm.
I think that's all I can say right now that I know of.
Okay.
Yeah, we have artists. It's mainly to support the artists there and to provide information about their own art and cultural connection to it. So, Rose, if you could help me out, maybe have more
Okay.
information on it too.
Sure. Last year it was held in November, and so, but this year the date has been changed to October 21st. It's on a Saturday, and this is in collaboration with the Coconino County Indigenous Peoples Advisory Council and the city Indigenous Commission is supporting that fair. And then also it is also in collaboration with Culture Connections with Audra Appleby, I think is her name. And so they're all working on that. And so it'll be in the afternoon. I believe it starts at 12 on the 21st. So if you're free that weekend, I know it's Sherbrooke or Tuba City Fair weekend, but if you can come and see us there. I won't be there, but I'll be at a conference as well. So I'm supporting as much as I can with that. Okay, that's it for I think for the announcements, unless others have something else.
Anyone else have anything? I believe that will conclude our meeting and we can adjourn for the day. Thank you all for showing up and sharing your thoughts and being a part of the Indigenous Commission meeting today.
Thank you. And it's now 12:58.
Yes, thank you, Rose.
All right, I'm going to stop
Okay.
recording now.
Thank you.
You
All
guys
right.
all take care.